$300,000 back now, it becomes 3 million.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Big Bend Fishing Report. I'm Captain Kenny Mullins, Captain Pat McGriff, and we
Captain
have
Greg DeVault.
Captain Greg DeVault joining us. It's been a while since we've been on. So it's been since what?
October. Since September.
September.
We
It's
did a
been
show in September.
September, and then we had the hurricane hit, obviously, and it set us back. Most of us, well, all three of us, have been working with the storm debris cleanup crews. But we've all three been back on the water. Greg, do you want to tell a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Greg DeVault. I moved up here about 3 years ago. I used to live down in Central Florida, but it got too crowded down there, so I'm up here now. We've moved our whole life up here. I just need some space, and I used to come up here as a little kid, way back when, and fish and hunt and do all that stuff up here. And I just knew I wanted to be back up this way, so I've moved my whole business up here. And like I said, through the storm cleanup, actually, I got to meet a lot of really, really good people. You guys, I kind of knew Kenny, but I got to meet Pat here, and who I've known forever. We used to see him at the boat shows back when I was a kid. Pat wasn't a kid then. But
now I'm 100.
But yeah, it's been awesome moving up here. I love it up here. The fishing is incredible, and we're kind of starting a new business up here. So I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's awesome. I love fishing up here. I've been a guide 30 years, and I look forward to another 30 years, hopefully.
Yeah, you and I grew up in the same areas.
Yeah.
Fished the same areas, and I remember when the fishing was good there.
Yeah.
It's, definitely not the same.
No, the crowds have gotten it, and it's just, like I said, pressure kills everything. It really does. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just the way it goes. I mean, everybody wants to move to Florida and live in Florida. We're just lucky here that there's not a lot of land available.
Right.
So still a lot of woods up here.
Yeah. So we'll kind of get started. We'll talk about some current conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And
Before we do that, Greg, explain, tell us about the lodge at Econfina and the fact that that's where you fish out of, and give us a little bit of background on that. I know it's early and you're not open or anything yet, but go ahead and tell us a little about that.
All right, we're building basically a hunting and fishing lodge out at the very end of 14, out at basically the mouth of the Econfina River. It's gonna be a very, I hate to use the word high end, but it's gonna be a very nice lodge. We're gonna be able to have about 15 to 16 guests will be able to stay in there. We're going to utilize, just the whole what the whole area has to offer. We're going to do turkey hunting, gator hunting, obviously fishing inshore, offshore, and freshwater in the rivers. We're going to do we're making some arrangements with duck. We're going to do ducks. We're going to do dove. We're making some arrangements with some local people to do some deer hunting, some hog hunting. We're going to build a sporting clay range. So we're going to be able to go out and, shoot sporting clays, whether it be for fun or we're going to do some tournament nights and stuff. That's going to be out there along 98 down towards Joel's place down there by JR's. So there's a lot coming. We're planning our opening. Obviously, we're going to do scalloping too. Our opening's probably going to be, well, it's not probably, it's going to be July 1st. It's under progression now. We should be done with construction hopefully about mid-April, but there's no telling. It's construction, but yeah,
it's your target date.
It is. Our target date for construction is about mid-April, and then we're gonna get everybody in step and get it open, and hopefully have a wonderful time.
The first time I ever fished in Taylor County was Econfina, and that would have been 1968. Sorry, I told you how old.
You really are old.
I know.
I was only a year old.
I know. Well, anyway, and it was $3 to put your boat in,
and it probably doesn't look much different now than it did then.
Right. All right, now you want to
Yeah.
go back to
So,
the fishing.
well, first I want to say, I've been to the lodge. You gave me a tour of the lodge.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. Even though you can't, there was nothing inside but studs, but the layout, the exterior.
It's going to be very comfortable. It's going to, like I said, when we get it done, it's going to be a very comfortable lodge. And we're going to do it just like, lodge in Louisiana or Texas. You're going to come, you'll stay the night, you get breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then whatever activity you want to do, whether it's fishing, hunting, trail riding, we're going to have horseback riding, all kinds of stuff. So, and then we're going to utilize, we're going to use all the local guides here, Kenny, Pat, and there's a few other guys that we've gotten to know, and everybody we're gonna use them to take everybody fishing. So it's all gonna stay local. We want to definitely boost the local economy and do everything we can. We're trying to keep everything local.
So you said fishing,
Hunting,
hunting,
horseback riding, trail riding, dove hunting, duck hunting.
Skeet.
Yeah,
yep,
shooting.
kayaking.
We're going to do some. We're trying to figure out if we can get these rivers clean. If we can get the rivers clean, yes, we're going to do some kayaking and stuff down the rivers where we take them and drop them off, and everything's going to be guided that we do. We're not going to do anything where we just send them out
Right.
and go, because it's for obvious reasons. So everything will be guided, but the kayaks, like say the Econfina River, we can drop in at 98
Yep.
and then kayak all the way down, because we have a actual dock. We have property right on the river, so they'll go right to our dock, and then they can either walk back across the street to the lodge, or we can come and get them, and they can ride over and come back and enjoy the swimming pool and all that stuff.
So what
Sounds outstanding.
What types of fishing are you offering?
So we're going to do inshore, offshore. We're gonna try and utilize some of the Lake Talquin, and then I believe I haven't been there yet, but Miccosukee, is that
Yeah.
right? Okay, that lake, and then the rivers also. The Osceola River, the St. Marks River, even the Econfina and Fen Holloway. As far as going in and being able to catch fish. So one of the things I grew up doing down in Pasco County was just walking down the banks of the Cody River and stuff like that, and just on beetle spins and catching red breast and bass and all that stuff. And these rivers up here, Spring Warrior, Fen Holloway, Econfina, so all of them.
So I'm going to put up some pictures here of some
Okay. Yep.
bread that we have been catching on the rivers.
Yeah. And we were sitting in the river today, as the barge was stuck. So we're just sitting there. So we sat there for about 30 minutes, and I could just watch the little red breasts and little bass just busting little minnows right in the middle of the river, just right next to us. And of course, I didn't have a fishing pole with me, but I will tomorrow.
In the Econfina.
No, this was in Spring Warrior.
Oh, in Warrior.
Yeah, but honestly, I all these rivers, they just, when you go and look at them, because I've been, since they've cleaned the Econfina, I've come down the Econfina. I mean, they're just beautiful. I
So
mean,
right here is one that was caught on Econfina not too long ago, and here's one caught on the Fen Holloway River. My
Yeah.
wife and I was on a trip on that one.
And those are good eating fish right there, little red breast. Those are probably, out of the bluegills, they're my favorite.
Yeah, that one. It's a little guy, but it'll work.
And they're just fun to catch. Like I said, some of my best memories are just walking down those rivers. Just
He said, little guy.
yeah, I know. That's what I was loving.
Kenny's arm is the same as mine. That's
Yeah.
Little
a
10,
heck of-
12-inch bluegill.
That's a really impressive
Yeah.
red breast.
Well, there probably hadn't been any. Those rivers were so crowded over and bogged up with trees, and I think probably hadn't been anybody up there fishing them in forever.
Yeah, and another thing that a lot of people doesn't realize is there's bass.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, it's fresh water, but I'm going to share this. If you want to check out some wildlife, want to go kayaking, show you all something that took a picture of
Oh yeah.
that little guy on the Fen Holloway River.
About 12, 13 feet, little guy.
That's why we need more gator tags in Taylor County.
So speaking of gator tags,
Mhm.
you mentioned gator hunting.
Yeah, we're going to. We're not sure how that's going to work yet, just because of the way the rules in Florida work. Because you obviously, whoever has the tag, has to be on the boat at that
Right.
time. So that presents its, some problems, but there's, we've been able to work around that in the past, but we are going to offer gator hunting there. And, whoever winds up doing, whether, I know you said you would do it, Tanner Schwab,
Oh yeah.
old Joel.
Joel.
That's an experience in its own, but I'm not sure I'd ever want to get on there boat with that boy, but yeah, so we're going to offer that. And then the duck hunting is going to be, I'm not a duck hunter personally, but my partner in
Me
all
neither.
this is. Yeah, I know. But
What ducks? No.
yeah, ain't no ducks around here. But I've learned a lot just being around you guys that, where we've been working and everything. And then, it opened my eyes to when I'm out there fishing. I'm more observant of ducks now, and I've actually gotten to the point where if I see them, I can actually name them now, not just say that's a duck.
Right.
So, but yeah, we're looking, we're looking to do a lot of the coastal marsh ducks and stuff like that. And then we've acquired some opportunities to, I think we're going to have a pretty strong wood duck area to be able to hunt.
Right.
We'll know more in a little bit, because right now we're kind of working on land deals and stuff like that, but everything looks very positive, and it looks like we're going to actually almost be able to create our own area for wood ducks and stuff like that. So
That'd be great.
yeah, that's exciting. And like I said, I've never done it, but Steve has, and I know you've got a lot of experience with it. And the landowner we're talking to it's a beautiful piece that's just looks like there should be ducks there. So he's kind of said, however we need to do it to make it to work, and he's going to let us go and do it. So yeah.
So a lot of exciting stuff to come.
There is by this time next year, we should be up fully running and have everything, and have, almost a year under our belt. So we'll really be, it's always a learning curve,
Oh,
especially when you're involving, with a lot of moving parts. But, we're not going to try and bite off too much at once. We're going to, obviously we're a fishing lodge first and foremost. So we're going to really concentrate on that. We're working on getting the best guides that we can in the area, and we're also going to include Pat. But
that's a big moving part in itself.
you can't have a lodge in this area, especially without Pat. Pat knows the history of the whole place. So
Oh yeah.
he is the history here. So, but definitely, but yeah, we're going to have a lot of the,
Living history.
we're going to have a lot
relic,
of the good
a
local
true
stuff.
relic. Yeah. Gosh. If I
We're gonna
live,
name
maybe
the museum.
maybe I'll live the year out.
You now have a reason.
Yep, I've got a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kid.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We're looking forward to it.
I'm really glad to hear y'all are here and doing what you're doing down there at Econfina. I think it's great. And you have the built-in fact that the coast will not be developed, and that's your insurance policy. That's why I moved here. I used to sit there down where y'all came from. I used to go out there fishing, and I spent over half of my time talking to the old fishermen on the piers in Tampa. It was Courtney Campbell and Gandy, et cetera. And they'd say, yeah, there used to be grass out there. When there was grass out there, we had fish. And I went, well, I know where there is some grass. So that's why I moved up. That's why I started my business at Keaton in 90.
And it's a delicate balance. I mean, I've not fought with it, but it's always on my mind that, you never want to bring, so it's like we tell everybody that moves down from up north, don't bring your politics with you, come down here and enjoy what we have. And I don't want to do that up here either with the lodge. That's why the number of people that we're going to keep there is not going to be huge. And, if we put 4 or 5 boats out there, all local guides and everything, I think it's very sustainable. And it gets to show everybody a part of this coast up here that is, I mean, absolutely amazing. I've been here for 3 years now, and I have my clients from Central Florida and all over the place that have fished with me in Central Florida for 25 years. And every one of them that comes up here, every one of them, when they get done, they're like, this place is amazing. It's just, they're like, this is the most beautiful place we've ever been. And, I know you guys get to see it a lot and every day. And I'm the same way when I run in and out that river. It's just like, we're very blessed. And I don't want that to change. I really don't. So, as long as we're doing what we're doing, like I said, we're very conscious of that. We're not trying to grow the area to that point.
Right.
Well, if COVID can't ruin it, you can't.
Yeah, I hope not.
Because the COVID crazies, everybody ran out and bought a boat. It looked like we were gonna be walking boat to boat, but it's backed off a little bit, but
Yeah.
the
Well,
COVID has been the greatest, attack from that I've seen from crowds.
yeah, and I tell you, I'm excited to see it too because obviously our community was just devastated
Hmm.
by Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of homes are gone, vacation rentals gone.
Yeah.
The majority.
Yeah, the majority.
And it's gonna be some time before that it's built back, and the rentals may not come back.
Right.
They-
Keaton Beach Bums is gone. Now they do have a food truck, so please support them. Keaton Beach Bums has always supported our show and
Absolutely.
supported us as local guides. And you know, we got to remember them. Keaton Beach Vacation Rentals. You know, some of her
George
well,
and Stephanie.
most of
well,
their houses were
Yep.
damaged or gone. You know, she does have. They've been staying in their campground, and so be sure and check with her. I'm sure she's probably booked up, but be sure and check with her. We always appreciate George and Stephanie. They've always been big supporters, not only of this show, but of us personally as guides. They've been great friends, and they've been a backbone to the community through this storm as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You always find out who really, who you can really count on when this kind of stuff happens. People jump in and help, and some some need help, and that's where you always build the bonds.
Oh yeah, yeah, and this storm cleanup work. I want to thank my my clients and friends that fish with me. For being understanding that what we're going through, what we've been through, and if it wasn't for this work, us being able to do the monitor boat work, I don't know where some of us would have been.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. It would have been tough.
So, and as you mentioned, getting the rivers clean, the work was stopped and closed out on the Ecofina. So make some phone calls if you fish the Ecofina and or if you have a residency in Ecofina, make some phone calls. That needs to be finished. The portion they clean from the bridge all the way to the mouth, and then they clean from 98 to about 2 miles
Mill Pond.
from the bridge.
Yeah.
Just
past Mill Pond.
past Mill Pond. Well, all that work that was done above that from 98 was for nothing at that point,
Yeah.
because the whole effort was for water flow.
Hmm.
And now we're at risk of future flooding.
Yeah. And every bit helps. I mean, we're very appreciative of what we got, but it's, you'd like to see it all done, and it makes it far more useful, as far as ecotourism and all that goes, and for everybody to be able to use the rivers and enjoy them.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to be out there in a boat and have to crawl over a log and do that kind of stuff, but it's something that needs to be done, and hopefully it'll get done one way or another.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I'm grateful for what they did. And Keaton Beach, they had so much devastation. And there was house after house after house in the marsh. I mean, just complete devastation. And the crews have done a good job of cleaning that up.
They have.
Is it perfect? No. But when you look at the mass,
The tonnage that we pulled out of the
Yeah.
canals.
You look at before and after.
Greg
it's
and
a
I
big
worked
difference.
those canals for 9 weeks.
Yeah, at
9
least
big
3
solids,
months.
and no one believes the tons and tons of material that we pulled out of just the canal. I say we, our crew
Yeah.
that we were monitoring. It's just remarkable. And people go down there and see all that siding on the floor, and they say, "They didn't clean this." Well, it uncovers every day. You find a new piece of that vinyl siding.
Yeah.
But the majority, there are no larger objects that will damage your boat. I still recommend people do the speed limit, which is
Right.
idle only, and trim your motor up if you're there on a negative low. You stood a chance to hit material that was deposited there from previous storms, Hermine and Idalia. So you can't put it all on this one crew after Helene. But they did a remarkable job of getting the dangerous, larger, bulky items and objects out of that canal system.
Mhm.
So the last count, when they went back and surveyed us, they were able to get 96% of the debris that was surveyed.
Yeah.
No,
That's
that
awesome.
seems accurate to me.
Yeah.
Because we were there. We were there.
Mhm.
Well, it's
Now,
like,
keep in mind, there's still debris out in the waterways that just will
Yeah.
show up randomly. This
Yeah.
doesn't, there's nothing they can
You
do.
can't
about
get 100% of
No.
it.
no,
You cannot do it.
it. No.
and especially the trees that are floating and moving and the root balls and stuff, that stuff's constantly moving.
Mhm.
You mark it today and then 3 days from now, it's a half a mile away.
Yeah, and then especially down around Hagen's Cove,
Right.
Piney
Mhm.
Point area,
A
there's
lot of trees.
a lot of trees.
Yep. Yeah.
There was, from this storm, there was a lot of debris offshore that, who knows where it's going to end up.
Yeah.
Some of it may push back in. We have these south winds that's coming up. March is a windy month.
Yep.
We do get a lot of south winds.
Yeah.
Flood tide.
But kudos to them. We've had no one report, or there are no reports of anyone hitting anything or striking and damaging their boat or their motor. So
Right.
we're fortunate with that, and it means that 96% is probably very accurate.
I found a rock I didn't know about yesterday. So, I mean,
Now, I will say this, especially out of some of these rivers, some of the sand has been moved around,
mhm.
and areas that you may have ran before may be significantly shallower now.
Well, the mouth of the Econfina for sure has changed a little bit. The channel used to run almost dead center and then kind of veer to the right of the bird rack out there, and now the whole channel is basically to the right side of when you're coming out. So I
Yep.
mean, it moved a good probably 10 to 12 foot to the basically to the right. I don't know if it uncovered and filled either way, but there's definitely the deep water that I used to always start following my tracks is definitely not the same anymore.
Yeah, there
coming
used
out
to
the
just
mouth.
be that bar right there,
Mhm.
kind of in the middle. And
Yep.
last time I was down there running it, I ran to the left because there was people to the right, thinking that I was fine, like normal, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh crap.
And at high tide, you're fine all the way through the mouth of the river. But if it's half tide or less, you definitely want to going out. You want to be on the right side of the river for sure.
Now the Finn Holloway, you get to the mouth of it, and everything is shallower than it used to be.
Yeah,
You know, so keep that in mind if you go out of the Finn Holloway. Not a whole lot of change in Keaton.
No, it's just shallow and muddy, like it was before.
Yeah.
nothing to see here.
6 foot of muck in the middle of the channel.
And as far as dredging, I did speak with the county. They do have the permitting, they do have the funding. They put it up for bid. No one bid on it. And I was able to find out one of the reasons they didn't bid on it is because they wanted all of it bagged.
Mm.
And so they're trying to see what they can do there. But the big thing that held that off more so than that is the storm. Of
Yeah.
course, they have to get as much they had to get as much cleaned up as they could.
Yeah,
Well, now this is going to raise the price of the dredging, of
because
course.
there's debris in the water.
But there is funding. The dock situation at both Keaton and Steinhatchee, there are no docks.
Right.
Those have been, the job has been put out for bid. Companies have bid on it. And right now the county's plan is to put in the center dock where you unload the boats at Keaton. They're going, and Steinhatchee, they're going to do that first. They're going to do it in phases. And they made that decision, although it's going to cost them a little bit more to do that in phases. This way they could at least get something in place.
In both places.
Yeah, they wanted to get something in place so that people could get out there, put their boats in the water, get on their boats safely.
Right.
And so be patient with that. I know it's frustrating, but when you look at everything that the counties went through, the loss of the mills,
Well, the last thing the county wants to do
Hurricanes.
is keep people off the water.
right?
I mean, that's their big draw now. So they want people to be able to utilize the water. They just have to make sure it's done in a safe way.
Yeah, and I can tell you, LaWanda Pemberton, the county administrator, and Commissioner Pam Fiegel has been super helpful throughout all this.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like I said, you find out who you know, who's really in it for you and who's kind of just there.
Right.
So you figure that out pretty quick when you see who's got their hand out helping.
That's right.
So
Just be patient. Docs are coming. We'll talk about current conditions. Water temp. Did you get a water temp reading today?
I didn't today, but when I was out, it was Friday. It was in the upper 60s. It was like 60. It started out about 65 and wound up being right just under 70.
That's where I was.
That's where I was at last. I
66.
imagine that's going to drop into the low 60s with this cold.
Probably.
I don't see this front here making much of an impact on the fish.
No, I think we're done with the fronts that are really going to impact where the fish, the fronts that impact the movement of the fish. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to stay
Bait
where they're
might be a
at.
different story as we get later on in the month.
I always find my bait right here.
That's true. However, the last couple of years, we've had some late cold fronts in early April that has kept that bait pushed offshore. So
So I'll tell you this. I was out, it was 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. It was just after we'd had that one fairly good cold snap come through where we got down to 20s again. And I was out and I was in about 18, 20 inches of water and I saw schools of pinfish. I mean, giant schools, like thousands of them. You just see them just all swim by for just minutes.
Mhm.
And I was just amazed that I was seeing that because the water was still cold then. And I mean, they were just everywhere. And I saw probably, you know, in the area I drifted, probably 8 or 10 different groups of pinfish like that.
Pat wants those coordinates.
I'm telling you, you could have thrown a cast net on these. They were so
But
thick.
now, the previous 23, December 23, they were out there by the tens of thousands in 10, 12 feet of water.
Yeah.
All up.
Yep.
And that's why we would caught those monster reds mixed in with the black sea bass. Because those reds said, hey, I was going to Tampa for a book, you know, and there's 10,000 pieces of, you know, food.
It's a lot of food.
Yeah, a lot of food. There's no reason for those big reds to move, and they hung in there till Christmas, and they're normally gone by the Thanksgiving at the latest.
Hmm.
You don't see a red over slot usually, unless you're behind Grassy Island, Kenny's group, you know, throwing the flying lines, you know. Anyway, but no, our water temperature was 66, 68.
Hmm.
And it made all the difference in the world. When it made 68, it was on. But when it was down there around 65, same day, you know, you weren't getting bit. And all of a sudden they all heard the bell at the same time. We need to hold 70. We hold 70 overnight for a week, and it's dynamite. I mean, it's on with anything you want to throw.
Yeah, that'll be top water.
But we're probably 3 weeks from that.
Hmm.
The groundhog saw his shadow, as I say, and we've got 8 more weeks back in February. So
Well, I know I'm one of those guys that cheats, that Pat loves with the airboats, but Kenny's soon to be, so you're going to be outnumbered. But
He'll be
there
out
was-
with us.
yeah, oh, I got him on the airboat this year during the work, and actually
did
the
you,
fish out.
did you know that I'm 71 and that's the first time I've ever been on an airboat? Was a ride I took with him
And he
Did
caught
you like it?
for what it was. I'm gonna be honest. It was, you know, it was like riding on the front of the handlebars of a motorcycle, and you're not in control. You're
That's
just
a good way to
all of a
put
sudden you're going left, and all of a sudden you're going right. And the black gal monitor, who was sitting next to me, was freaked out worse than I was. So she didn't contribute my I can't say
Your
her name.
enjoyment.
Yeah, I can't say her name, but it was also her first ride on a airboat. And between the two of us, we were cold because he said, y'all want to go? And we didn't have all our jackets and stuff on. And I said, I leaned over there to her. What was her name?
Angela.
Angela. I said, Angela. I said, we could both beat him up and make him take us back. And she said, okay.
Angela could have done that on her
She
own.
was was ready though. She was really ready.
Yeah.
But you know, she was from Louisiana and she'd never ridden on one.
Yeah.
And she said it was fun, but I was cold.
But this year there was a very definite line where we were just smoking the fish in the holes in the rivers. and we had about a week's warm up before that real cold air.
Yep.
And I mean, the fish just disappeared out of the creeks.
Oh yeah.
And when you go out and move creek to creek, you'd see them all. They were all out there just swimming around, enjoying that warm air or warm water, I should say. But just, they never, even on that cold snap, they never really went back in. So I think they were just ready to be out there. And that's when all that bait was out there. So they had everything they needed.
Right.
Yeah, some of those did end up trickling back in.
Mhm.
You know, right now there's fish on the outside, and still
Yeah,
you still catch a limit of fish in the creeks.
you can.
You're gonna work for it,
But it's not like it was, like I said, when we towards the end of December and all through January. I mean, you'd hit 2 or 3 holes and you
Right.
just never move, and you'd fish 6 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and when I went back out, you know, especially the beginning of February after we'd had that warm up, I found myself bouncing through a lot of creeks to get the same bites that I had before. So they were ready to come out. And like I said, I fished out of my skiff the other day and just running around and just drifting out there off the, like Pat said, out off the edge a couple hundred yards. I mean, once you found the depth that they wanted to be in, it was every cast.
Oh yeah.
Well, the other thing that happens is when they get so warm, hunger comes back on. Hunger switch comes back on,
Mhm.
and they don't have that hunger switch on when they're in those creeks with you in the winter, because they don't have any food in there. They bite because you put something in front of them, but they're not feeding because there's nothing in there for them to eat, and their stomachs are retracted. And so once they hit 70 degrees, they start looking around like, I'm hungry.
Why are we here?
Yeah, we need to go find some food. So it doesn't take much of that trigger of that warm weather to move them out of there.
Mhm.
So speaking of fishing in the creeks, you got to experience that this year, didn't you?
I did one time that when we were on the cleanup where I wasn't supposed to be, and I didn't get caught, and neither did the other 2 anglers that shall remain nameless. But one of those anglers that shall remain nameless from me got caught, but not on that trip. But I say caught, we would sit there for what, Greg, for 3 days and never get in a boat.
Yeah.
And it was real hard knowing that those warm days that we could, just run out there and catch fish. So the fact that I only went once in 9 weeks, I think is magnanimous.
It's hard to tell a guide not to go fishing.
Yes.
So,
But now let me go back. Wednesday, week ago, which would be 2 weeks yesterday, I sat in the mouth of a creek, and when the tide changed, I was sitting there at 30 minutes after it flipped, and I watched the water start moving the other way, and it was every cast for an hour and a half. I had 17 keepers and 22 shorts in less than an hour and a half by myself. And, it was unbelievable. And then Saturday, 35 boats, drove all over all that water. Actually, 5 or 6 boats were just gangbanging the mouths of those creeks and running all over them. So that fishery went away. But that's when those fish were moving, is what Greg's talking about. That's when we had that warm up, and they shipped it out. But we're still having real negative tides on the flats themselves. I mean, I fished at 2.3 high tide. Well, that's no water. Normally, I don't even book a trip unless I've got over 2 feet of water movement throughout the tide change. And we call that the range. But anyway, it's, those fish are sitting right there. But these people are running, and they just need to slow down. These fish are cold. They're still cold to the touch. So, and the bigger fish come back out of those holes, and they get chilled, and they can't warm back up, and you catch short. The keepers are there, but their
They're
body
slower.
mass, their body mass being at 2 times what the little fish are, takes them twice as long to warm up. And then if we have another front before that happens, bang, then they're shut down again. So they're sitting out there in that same water, but they're waiting on their body temperatures to get up to what the little fish are.
yep. And that's why this time of the year, I wait.
Mhm.
I go later in the day.
Well, if we have a high from 1 to 3, it's ideal, because then the water starts back out, and that warmer water comes out of the mouth of the creeks and off of the rocks and mud flats and areas to those fish that have already moved back away and pulled off of the hill. And it's like a sauna saying, here you go. Isn't that nice? It's like getting a massage and a sauna. So they really feed on those falling tide first, 2 hours of falling tide in the afternoon.
Yeah, that water temperature would probably be 4 or 5 degrees warmer coming out of
Coming
those
out, too.
marshes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's plenty of enough to trigger them, get their metabolism fired up for just a little bit. And like you say, you just sit there and catch them one after another like you did.
And that will be there, but most people won't move and leave it. You're not going, if you're not going to change it, then why sit and continue catching 12, 14-inch trout? Change your baits, upgrade your size, slow down, raise it up in the column or go to the bottom, find out where the big fish are. Most of the time they're below the little fish. And so a bait that's hugging or staying close to the bottom is going to produce artificial baits, what I'm talking about. It's going to produce more larger fish, but you got to slow down to half the speed you're working it. And the average good old boy from wherever who's down here can't stop watching that cork go under or getting that bite every cast, and they don't slow down, they don't change their baits.
So we were talking earlier about how, slow and everything's been hitting slower the other day on the boat, and it's happened 3 or 4 times. I've been catching everything in the creeks. Very unusual. Actually, the day me and you went, you threw a Miradine, and I had to throw a Miradine to catch up.
I heard that.
But
I wasn't going to say anything. I heard Mr. Soft Plastic.
I did.
Mr. Littlejohn decided.
When I put that Miradine on, he looked at me like, "What are you doing?"
I learned quickly. So from the rest of the season on now, I've had plenty of Miradines tied on the whole time with the airboat, which I never do. But what I was going to get to here, outside of that story,
I'm inspirational.
yeah,
No, you showed him something he didn't.
is there were several times where you work that Miradine. You were talking about how the bigger fish are slower and down deeper all the time. You work that Miradine, and I'd watch clients working. I tell them work it slow, and they work it tap tap tap, and they catch a fish and be a 16 to 18-inch trout. And I'll fish along with them occasionally, and there was probably 3 different times I'd throw it out there, I'd work it, and I'd go to unzip my jacket, holding the rod in my hand, I'd unzip my jacket, and I'd feel boom, as it's just sinking down, and it got down deep, and it'd be a big trout. It'd be 20+ inch trout. So I'd start telling them, just twitch it a couple times and just give it 5-6 seconds, let it sink all the way down. And the size of our fish, just like you were saying, increased dramatically when I could get them to do that. Like I said, it's hard.
That's right.
You can get them to do it for 2 casts, and then they're right back what they were doing.
Well,
Yeah.
you they've got a built-in rhythm. The average bass fisherman goes, do something real, I'm bass fishing. And that won't catch a trout. You've got to reel and do something, and then you got to stop. Because the something you did is the first half of the presentation, and it's a lift. And the drop happens when you're not doing anything, and you can't teach nothing. The hardest thing in the world is to teach nothing. Say, do nothing. And I teach it by saying, throw it out there, hop, hop, stop, take your hand off, let it drop. 2, 3, 4. And if you can get the customer or client
I need index
to
cards.
take this guard hand off of the reel,
They'll catch fish.
they'll catch fish by default that it's dropping, not being moved
So
away.
Travis Andrews is going to get people fired up here.
All right.
Says those Georgia boys have no patience.
They have a faster rhythm, and it's a beetle spin rhythm. It's a rattle trap rhythm. It's a plastic worm rhythm.
It's because they're on those tractors going like this all day. So that's how they fish.
They're fishing Uncle John's farm pond where there's so many bass, you can do it wrong
Mm-hmm.
and catch them. But the point is, those fish will not respond like a trout. The trout goes almost into full hibernation torpor, and he can hit a bait moving the speed that he is set at, but he cannot reach out there and hit a bait that is moving faster than his dimension. It's like a squirrel and a big dog and a little dog. The little dog will chase the squirrel because he thinks he can catch him. The big dog won't bother to take 3 steps because he said, I'm not in that. I can't move. That's a light year faster than I can go. And he doesn't chase him anymore. And that's why these bigger trout won't move for a bait that's floating back to the top. If you pull it down, it floats back to the top this fast, you're wasting your time. The cotton cordell redfin crowd is only good from 70 degrees up. When that water temperature is down there in the 50s,
Couldn't help you.
they make a lot of cash. Hey, I've been fishing redfins for 40 years.
Travis must have inspired that one.
I love them, but they call them cotton cordales, the Georgia crew. They don't know it's a redfin because they threw the box away the day they bought it. And they didn't look at it. They just said cotton cordale. That's it.
We do appreciate you, Georgia people.
We do.
But
Damn straight.
oh yeah,
I'm from Georgia. Watch out how you call them Georgia people. I was born and raised in Macon, Georgia.
oh I
Very
know.
proud
Trust
of
me, it explains a lot. No,
it.
I've never heard that.
I'm very proud of it.
no.
Bibb County.
Then they're gonna rag on us when we go there deer hunting.
All right, you gonna let me show the new baits that Eric Botnick at Mirror Lure made?
Do you know how to use them?
Yes.
It's not a pinfish.
Folks, Eric has finally decided, and I begged him to do it a few years ago, so I won't claim anything about it because I hadn't seen him in about 3 years. But this is the shape of the Paul Brown Devil, which is one of the Paul Brown series of soft plugs. He makes the Miradine, of course. The Soft Dean. He makes the Devil, and he makes the original and Fat Boy. And now this blank actually comes with a split in it. There are 3 or 4 ways to rig it. I've shown you. I don't know if you can see that. There nose hook on there. You can run it with a keel bait, with a keel hook, so that you've got, this is a 6/0 VMC drop dead. Then this is a VMC ultra duty wide gap. What does it say?
Heavy duty wide gap.
Heavy duty. I thought it said ultra.
6/0.
6/0. That's a beast of a hook, but this is a regular 95, JV, like the old JVL's Eagle Claws. It's just a bass worm hook, but you can rig it with this hook exposed so you don't have to overcome the bulk of this plastic in order to catch a fish. He makes it in a bunch of colors. I only brought 3, this pink and silver, and this 808 I'm sure all y'all recognize because this is a killer for us year round, but this time of year especially. That's black over gold over orange. And these,
Don't use those two.
these baits are called Devil Blanks, and they're 4. They come packed 4, and I think it's about $5 is what I saw what the retail was on these for a 4-pack. Very reasonable considering a Paul Brown Devil with the treble hook in it is a $9 to $11 plug, depending on where you buy it. So, if you want to catch some bigger fish with a bigger bait with a larger profile, and it's very durable. This bait is really tough. I call it inner tube tire tough. It is really tough. Try some of these Paul Brown Devil Blanks, and if you can't find them, go straight to Mirror Lure, and then go to your dealer and ask him to put some on the shelf for y'all. I've already
me too much, Pat.
I love this little hook. I meant to bring the box, but this is a hard to find hook. It's a little Eagle Claw. It's a live bait hook, is what they call it, but it is not a octopus hook. It's not a circle hook. It's a hybrid, and it's got a big gap. See that big gap for a short hook? That's incredible. Usually you've got half that gap. So that's why I love it for nose hooking. And I fished a lot of Assassin's plastic with this hook and done really well with it after hearing you. But one of the reasons I did it from you is a shallow water. Fishing a little shallow water. The nose hook is a really good idea when you get less than 2 feet of water, when some of this other stuff is too heavy and a little bit maybe.
And when you want it to suspend slower.
Right. If you want it to waggle in the current too. But like I said, go to your dealer and get them to order some for you, and you can go online and see the colors. I think there's 13. I think I remember seeing 13 different colors.
No, it's not like a Kale Travis. It's really just a short.
It's a J hook.
It's a short
It's a
live bait J hook with a slight curvature.
Yeah, you might call it a beat. What is it? Beat or Muti? Got to have some
Mewtwo.
like Mewtwo.
Yeah.
Very close to it. But I'll get the number and put it on next month. I'll get the number off that hook, and if
I've always found
Text.
rigging them that way. Back when I was tournament fishing, we started rigging them that way because we'd lose, and you wouldn't get the hook in them if you had to come through the body like this. Because back in those days, a lot of baits didn't have the split body in them, so you had to come all the way through the meat of the of the rubber, meat of the bait.
Well, I fish these hooks. I fish these baits with the Rocket Baby in the cradle. I put the hook exposed. And I don't bring it up here snug and then pinch it back like you do a Zoom lizard. bass fishing. To heck with that. We're not fishing blow down trees and riffraff
Right.
here. And so we can rig the bait straight and have the hook sticking out. And that's the same I do for my Assassin 5-inch. I rig it in a round bend hook such that that hook is exposed. And if he breathes on it, he's mine.
Yeah, let you get some meat in them.
Right.
I really like this one.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, that's going to catch a lot of
Yeah, it is.
of trout.
He needs to
And-
make. He needs to make that color in his other soft plastics.
You aren't kidding.
Well, of course he does in his broken glass gold with the same top and bottom on it is one of Eric's top sellers.
Oh yeah, especially in this area.
In that Miradine.
Yeah, and the mirror. I'm saying that
You can-
in his
yeah.
other plastic too.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure it's
Now,
coming.
now we need some gold glitter in that. Right.
I just told you.
Yeah.
That's what I was
gold
telling.
glitter in that one.
Oh, pink with gold.
Mm.
Robin Shiver makes that with his salty snake. He has a pink gold, and
Well, I have
caught
some.
I've caught quite a few fish on it, but I don't normally tell it. So hopefully there are not too many of y'all watching.
The secrets.
Yes, but the pink gold is extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. But I'm catching a ton of fish on the Pink Flash Miradine 27 in the Pink Flash broken glass. It has been extraordinary, and so has the NP that I call Candy Apple.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the NP, and it's gold
The FSU one.
with
Mhm.
yeah. But
Vernick one.
it's got we call it Candy Apple. I don't know. I never heard the FSU, but that's a good name for it. So there you
Easy to
go.
remember.
There you go. Like I said, next time I'm going to have a bunch of pictures on Facebook, and I'm going to bring these in here and say, "Now I told you, get you some."
It'll be too late by then. I'll have to wait till next year.
Yeah.
It won't be.
No, we got another cold front coming.
Oh yeah.
I just got them. That's why I haven't still had a chance to get out there and slaughter the fish on them yet, because I had just got them.
So Miradine's been what I've been throwing.
That's absolutely 27, right? Are you throwing
Actually-
17?
Actually, I've been throwing the 17 lately.
Yeah.
We went out to catch some fish, Austin Amston and I.
Well, if you're scared, throw a little bait. It's all right.
No, so let me tell you, I don't know. I was fishing with Shannon Millinore's rod that he bought the brimfish with.
Mm-hmm.
We ran out to catch some trout at the end of the day to cook for all the crew members.
You believe in any of that?
Mm-hmm.
No, this is real. So we went out there and I had a
I didn't get a phone call.
I didn't get I didn't get to eat any of them.
Okay.
Or go catch it.
this is a
I
one.
saw pictures. That's all I know.
This is a 1,000 size reel with a ultralight combo, and he had the ugliest colored Miradine that I've ever seen. I don't even know that if they even sell this. It might have been some kind of
You might have hand painted it.
I don't know what it was. And
Shannon
Austin,
was bored one day.
Austin hands me that, and he takes a redfin. And I knew where the fish were because we fished the Power Pole Redfish series the weekend before,
Mhm.
and we found the trout. I mean, they were stacked. And I told Austin, so we run out there. By the time we leave the ramp, we run out and get back. It'd be about 45 minutes.
Mhm.
Well, it was really 30 minutes. And I don't even know what this ugly looking thing was, but
Yeah, you still don't know
I
yet.
still don't know what color it was.
Man, you're supposed to steal those so you can copy them, and then you bring him two of them, new ones, and then everybody's
I
happy.
don't even know if they make this. I don't even know where he got it from. But anyways, it was.
That's a good way of not telling us what he called them, Greg. I just thought I'd say, I don't believe any of it. Not buying it.
I
What
have
color's
no
the
idea
pen?
what color.
What
that
color's
was.
the pen? Oh, it's purple, but you had your chance. Okay.
But yeah,
Notice he didn't even tell us what colors it was.
Mm. He didn't want to give up the size.
It was such a phantom.
it
He
was,
can't
no,
remember the
I'll
colors.
tell you, it was black
We'll
and
call Shannon and get it.
it was black and like a lime green and something else, some kind of hot orange, and
That was like the head green and the body black and all that. Was it that one?
no.
No, okay.
Like I said, I've never seen.
I've never
this one
seen one
before.
like that then.
If you go to Fusion down there, you'll see those weird looking ones. That's probably a C.A. Richardson color.
It might
It's
be.
probably one of those. It is. It probably is one.
But
of
the real, in all reality, most of those colors are designed to catch the fish,
They are.
not the fish.
Well,
But regardless,
that one's not.
he he was throwing a redfin,
Hmm.
and I was catching him 2-1.
Yeah.
he still caught him, but it was crazy good. I mean, you get in the right, and it was very definitive line. We were drifting, but we had about a 75-yard drift that we caught fish.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a line.
And they've been, to me, the trout especially have been picky this year, it seems like, because even in the creeks, because most all winter I'm in my airboat fishing the creeks on the negative lows, and I am dedicated to throw plastics. That's just who I am. I've always done it. So I'll always be throwing a soft plastic. And the mirror, like I said, the trout, you threw a Miradine out there, you would catch a trout. You threw a soft plastic right next to it, you wouldn't catch anything.
Yep.
It was the craziest thing, and it would happen. It was over, and I mean, they catch a trout on every cast. And
3 years? Took him 3 years?
However,
told us earlier.
I was fishing for redfish, and the reds would eat the plastic. So I was fishing for
Miradine too.
They did eat the Miradine too, I will say, but I could get the reds to eat the plastic, and the trout would eat them. But they, like I said, they were all over. And I don't know if it was just something that they were just feeding on fish. And it's what they were looking for. Obviously, it was.
No, they were looking for this. And your soft plastic can't do this.
And if you remember, I started out with a silver one. I started out with I think it was the pinfish one. May have been the mullet. I think it was the mullet. I started out with the mullet, and I was catching them. And then
You're throwing the skins.
yes, on that one I was. And then the cloud cover went away, sun came out, I switched that broken glass gold, and it was on fire.
Yeah, that's when I changed. But now the last few times out, it's been they got this color. It's the bone, the bone back, silver side, and the bone bottom.
Yep.
And that one's been money.
So for the next 30 days, what do you predict? What
March? Probably wind.
Wind.
Yeah.
wind, lots of wind.
No, what I predict is that the majority, the fish that are in the creeks are not the fish that are offshore. If all the trout in the planet, like most of South Georgia believes, are either in the creeks or on the flats, then if that were ever true, and it was a majority, then the netters would have gotten them all before 1990 when I came down here to make a living, because they stopped netted the damn creeks with thousands of yards of net, and yet we still have trout. Now, they did that for 30 years, 35 years with monofilament. Okay, and I'm not putting down or criticizing or making any judgment on the fact that they did that. But you have to understand that less than 10% of the trout on the planet have ever been in a creek. If they were, we would never fish any other time but then, and you could walk across them because of how many are out there. Now, what happens is, while somebody's waving this red flag like waving a cape at a bull, and all these trout are being caught in these creeks, there is a population of trout offshore that are sitting waiting for the water to warm up, because they're in deeper water. It takes them up to a month or two to warm up, and they haven't come in and joined the general population of those smaller fish that are out there doing the creek shuffle back and forth. Now, the larger fish that were up in those creeks, they went in there first. They went in there, and they'll come out last. They don't come out first. If they did, we'd have had this gangbuster of bigger fish caught that we didn't see for the last 2 or 3 weeks off the creeks. So they hadn't left yet. They hadn't moved. But I'm not a creek fisherman, but I've listened and watched and listened, but long years ago, and I know how they netted, and I know that most of the trout are still out in deep water. Now, in the last week of March last year, I was catching black sea bass and trout cast and cast, one then the other, one then the other. And if you change the stinky pink, you caught the majority of trout. If you change the pink ghost, you caught the majority of black sea bass. And they were out there at 72, 74 degrees. And I was in 8 to 10 feet of water, while Greg and you were still in a foot of water. That's a different group of fish. Those fish are not up yet. They're not awake. They're not coming till we hit 70 and hold it. We hold 70. My prediction for the rest of March, if we can hold 70 for a week, it'll be on both ends. We'll have the candle lit on both ends, and we'll be catching them. But the 3 to 5 feet of water, You can go out there and spend all day and catch a flounder. I spooked 3 flounder with the boat going through 3 and 4 feet of water
Hmm.
that my client was standing there watching the water. And he said, oh, there goes another one. And I said, another what? He said, flounder. I said, really? I said, why didn't you jump out there and bite him on the rear end? And he said, because I'm not that fast. But the point was, that's all that was out there.
Yeah.
There weren't any other fish in that deeper range while I was easing through those rocks to get to the shallow water. But what'll happen is you'll be able to catch them on everything that you throw if we hold 70 for a week overnight. That's a magic number.
Yeah, that seems like everywhere. I mean, it's from what I've seen, just between the airboat and the little boat, when I'm moving around, like Pat said, you get out too deep and you don't see anything.
Right.
I mean, there's literally nothing in there, and I always like when especially if I'm going to drift along the edge, I always like to try and kind of see where the mullet are working and then get in line with them to start with and see where it's at. And it seems like, the last few times out, I've seen a lot of fish in the 12 to 18 inch range. Seems like where I've seen the most. Of course, that's where I'm running the most with the airboat when I'm moving, but it seems like there's a lot of fish in those zones. And like Pat said, once that water gets warmed up and I think it gets above 70 and holds there, you're going to see, everybody's favorite time, everybody loves to throw top water, and they're close now. And I've caught a few fish. I've had a lot of fish chase and short strike on top waters, but they're not fully committed yet.
What's your favorite top water? Give me brand, size, and then color.
I like the Mirror top pup, and I like that color right there.
All right.
Now I like bone white top waters too, only because you can see them a lot better.
Mm.
But that one is my favorite
808.
top water.
Folks, that's the 808.
Mhm.
That's black over gold over orange. And the top pup is the smallest of those.
Yep.
It's a little smaller
It's a
than
3-inch bait.
Yep. And why do you like the small one? Because you catch more reds on it, more on the
I just
stripes?
think I think I get better hookup ratio on that smaller lure. I think
There
they
you
come up and get a hold of it because they always, trout always hit them from the side, seems like, and a redfish comes up behind them and hits them most of the time.
Good tip.
And especially with the trout, it seems like, those bigger mirror lures, they've got a big gap in the middle of those trout. I mean, I love watching them knock them out of the water 3-4 times because they won't quit on them, so that you'll eventually get them. But that little top pup seems like the first time, as long as you don't jerk it away from them,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have them almost every time.
Mm-hmm.
And the reds, like I said, you always see them coming, which is always fun. But that's probably my favorite time of year, when we can, March, April, when we really get the top water bite going.
Kenny, what's your favorite top? I know what it is, but I'll write it over my hand over here. Right, he's throwing the
Yeah.
Palace Skitter.
Skitterwald.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Skitterwald.
in the bone, and in that
Well,
and in that cutlass color.
this month I'll be throwing more of the gold.
You've really gone to the church and been converted. They baptized you with that broken glass.
As we get further in, now going into April,
He's in the choir now.
It's
Go.
part of it.
I'll switch over to the silver in April.
Mhm.
Okay.
The
When this white bait shows up.
green
When all
back or blue back.
When all the bait shows up. Yeah. Right now, whatever they think a gold is, they'll eat. I'm not going to argue with you.
I can tell you what I'll be throwing Saturday mostly. I'm gonna start out with gold spinning.
Mhm.
But you're throwing, I know what you're throwing. You're throwing Mike Hackler's Aqua Spoon,
Yep.
Aqua Dream Spoon. I'm supposed to remember the word dream. Okay, Aqua Dream Spoon, but you're throwing it in the 3/8 or the quarter.
3/8.
Okay.
But I'm targeting red.
And for
fish.
those of you from Georgia like me, 3/8 is bigger than the quarter. It sounds smaller, but it's not. Go ahead.
But not quite half hour.
But I'm only targeting redfish.
I understand.
Now, what we will see as we go further into this month is those bigger redfish starting to show. Well, they're already starting to show up, but you'll see that wave as it starts in Cedar Key. You'll see them start sliding on Cedar Key, Horseshoe, Pepperfish, on his sting hatch.
Now you're talking about
Keaton.
lure slots now. You're
Yes.
talking about the big fish.
Yes,
Right.
the big fish. You'll see the red wave, and that's what I'm ready for. That red
Y'all
wave.
need to make sure you let a few of them get up to Econfina this year.
Oh, they do. They do. I put a hurting on them before they make it there, but
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because the Skitterwalk was one of my favorite lures to, for topwaters to throw, because I love the action of it. What we used to do, if we had a nice calm day, because if you look at a Skitterwalk and any of the mirror lures, but well, not so much the she dogs, but like the top dogs, the top pups, they sit a little bit lower in the water. So when it was calmer, or you had just a real slight ripple, I always liked the top pups and the top dogs, because they were lower in the water and they surf better. If I had a little ripple, and this was a lot when I was tournament fishing, I'd always throw a Skitterwalk because it worked better in the ripple. The top dogs, because they sat lower in the water, never seemed like they had the same. They just didn't have the same action if you had any kind of ripple.
Right.
So.
And I do prefer throwing them with chop.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, especially if I'm snook fishing,
Yeah.
which obviously I'm not doing a lot of snook fishing here.
Right.
I'm snook fishing. And I love rough. I love
Yeah.
top water
Oh,
with
yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
And I know you're a snook fisher.
Yeah. The most action you can get out of it, for sure.
My attitude and my history on the mirror lures are trout on the top dog and junior and pup, and on the wee dog, the she dog, and the he dog redfish. And I can take the blecho, which is BLCHO, okay, which is blue over shark orange, and catch more reds in the she dog than on any other color. They'll come up for 5 feet of water and get it, or 5 inches. I don't care. But what I remember Eric putting on the packaging is, in rough weather, use the high frequency she dogs, and in calm weather. And that goes back to your comments. You like it sitting further down in the water.
Yep.
Because it's not as, what's the word? It's not as
Buoy.
gaudy. It doesn't look, it looks more realistic
Right.
to that fish. It's down in the water, and your hookup ratio is going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And I always found the hookup ratio much better on a top dog junior when I'd use it. I don't use too many of the big ones,
Right.
the he's and the
The big
top
she
dog.
dog.
I use the junior and the pups.
Mm-hmm.
And I always had it wrong. I'd say she pup, and it's we instead of wee pup. And I still don't know which one it is. She dog, wee dog, she dog, wee pup, she pup. Who knows?
One thing
One of
that
those-
hasn't been mentioned is the one knocker.
Well, I don't fish my super spooks until I fish the super spook junior, but I don't like telling anybody about it. But that one in the same color here, it's called Golden Sardine. Yeah. And they made one that was slick, and Bass Pro was the only one that sold it. And I got 2 left. And they're chrome gold, black over orange, and they are killers.
I will say,
The second, wait a minute, the second best one in this little Super Spook Junior is the Blue Plate Special called Silver Mullet. I don't know why it's called Silver Mullet, because it has a blue.
you gotta give a shout out to the Bone.
That's that.
No, because Bone, everybody knows Bone is the number one catching topwater Zara spook, and has been for 30 years.
So I will say, I will catch more trout on a spook than I will
And you'll catch more big trout
Skitterwalk.
on a Super
Yeah.
Spook. Bone.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I catch trout on the Skitterwalk.
Yeah.
I catch a lot of trout on Skitterwalk.
Yeah.
But if I'm throwing, if someone's throwing a spook and someone's throwing a Skitterwalk and trout,
Spook catches bigger
you're going to
trout.
catch bigger trout on that, and more trout on that spook.
So along those lines of thinking, we were fishing down in Charlotte Harbor. As me and a buddy of mine, we were doing some homework and stuff, and he was throwing the Fat Boys, the Paul Brown Fat Boys, and he was throwing it, and I was just using my typical soft plastic that I was using. We're just bouncing around hitting potholes, and I'm catching trout just about every cast, it seemed like. I mean, I was wearing him out. However, when he would catch one, it would be 23, 24 inches long. Every one of them he caught was like that. I never caught one nearly that big. And what made me think of that is you said the Super Spook would only draw big fish. Yeah, it seems like that Paul Brown lure. You just don't ever see small fish eat it. I don't know why that is. I think we had that discussion one day over there when we were working, but I can never figure it out.
That
Throw
was
this
the
thing in
Fat
water.
Boy.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah,
Fat Boy.
the Fat Boys probably put more
I
gator trout in
Texas.
yeah, and I don't understand it because they're throwing it in the same water, and it's not because trout are afraid of something big.
Well, if you've ever had a devil, and I'm talking about one with the treble
Treble
hook,
hook.
Dave, where you outfished everybody. I'll tell you what I did with it 5 years ago. Billy Pillow was in the back of the boat. Dave Malone was in the front. I had both of them throwing the devil and two different colors. Billy was throwing Billy Pillow his color, and I don't remember, I think Dave was throwing this one. And I threw 42 lures, and about 40 of them or 35 of them were mirror lures. And they were hard baits, and they were top, middle, sinkers, fast, 51s, 52s, 27s, 17s. And I caught 3 trout, and they caught close to 100. And whatever that fish thinks that little baseball bat looking thing is, and it is silly. And I've had people go, I'm not going to throw that. And about 20, 30 trout later, they'll, hey, do you have one of those I can throw? But the point is, when they decide they want the fat boy, it's the same way.
Yeah.
I had 2 or 3. I just looked at it and I said, well, I'm already carrying 300 pounds of plastic and 200 pounds of plugs. I just can't keep originals and fat. And when I got the devil, I never went back.
Yeah.
If anything will beat the devil as just a Paul Brown bait, I would have to be on the boat to believe you.
So Travis Andrews says you need the Gambler, Flapping Shad, and Smoking Gold.
Well, there's a cow born every day. You know what a cow is? In the
Cow.
plastic-
I'm not even going to say it.
in the plastics industry, you know what the word cow means? Color of the wheat. So I appreciate you have a favorite. So do I. I've shown you mine. Now you need to get us a picture.
I have some.
A Gambler, Flapping Shad, and Smoking Gold.
Yep.
Well, you got gold in there, so Kenny's on your is you in his congregation. Turn to your hymnals to pay gold, and that's all we need. And his name Travis Andrews. Good deal, Travis.
So Travis came fishing with me. Was it 2 Marches ago? Yeah, 2 years ago in March. And they went down to the Hungry Howie's in Steenhatchee, and his daughter they had a little claw machine there. And anyways, they got these little glow in the dark skeletons.
Oh yeah, I heard this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we rigged them up and we caught fish on them.
No kidding.
Oh yeah. We caught trout. Did we catch redfish on them? I don't remember. I know we caught a bunch of trout on them. We came out of the little, that wasn't the claw machine. It was one of those little, plastic.
Oh yeah. We
I
get
had-
little capsules.
I had a buddy put a harness in a gummy worm and caught spotted bass in Georgia with it.
Sometimes they just want to eat.
Hey, cigarette butt doesn't matter.
Yep.
You got any some of those comments to read it back to anybody?
Yeah, Tyler Bryant says, love listening to Pat talk fishing. Way to represent us Georgia boys.
All right.
He wasn't tuned in when you were talking about the Georgia boys earlier.
He just heard the compliments.
Travis says, because you can rig it 100 ways.
Okay. A flapping shad. Sounds like it has a flapping tail. Probably has a good
Trying to-
It
stabilizer.
has a flat tail, kind of wide blade.
Yeah, it's like a paddle, almost like a paddle tail.
Instead of a paddle tail, it's got a flapper. Well, what's his name here locally? Roberts built one years ago called Trout Candy. And it had a big wide tail like that came behind the grub. It was absolutely great bait.
So I'm going.
The one thing I've always learned with trout is if you can get a bait that, like you said, falls slow,
Love it.
just a steady sink rate, trout will eat it like crazy.
Gambler.
Flapping shad, gonna put it on the
Flapping
plate. Did you realize that years ago they used to take that Tom Mann's tail and run it this way because it looked like a fish instead of running it like it?
Oh yeah.
And I got on a boat out Egan Fina one day and we killed him, and the guys looked at his rod, and every one of his rods had a pink fire tail grub on it. It was Junkie George. It wasn't. It's a copy. And I said, "Can I see your rod there for a minute?" He said, "Yeah, you fishing tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Look, rig yours like this, but don't tell the other guys."
Just
Well,
turn it.
Sunday afternoon, we come in about 3 o'clock, because we had to back home. And this guy came over to me and he said, I want to shake your hand. He said, I caught 31 trout and 2 of them caught 20. He said, I didn't tell him about this. I said,
He won the
I
Calcutta.
said, well, don't tell him.
Here you go, Pat. Here's a picture of it.
Oh, isn't that a ding dong looking thing? Well, that long tail probably makes that thing swim.
So it kind of looks like this with a big,
Yeah,
big flat tail.
Wide, flat.
flat tail. That's pretty bait. I bet they're expensive though to be that pretty.
They're not.
How much are they?
$5 a pack. $5.79 a pack.
And there's 4 in a pack, and you say that's not expensive?
Well, I mean, it's
Okay. Flapping sheds. We appreciate it. We'll have to get Kenny will get some because it's got gold in it.
He'll
out
get the
there.
gold.
I have them already.
Oh, he's flapping them. He's already
I've
flapping.
been keeping that a
Be
secret.
prepared.
Okay. Well, I should have kept these a secret, but I promised not to. So here we are. And I'm going to embarrass somebody who gets on my boat next week. I'm not going to say who that is.
Yes, so going into the rest of the month, Sheepshead will be fired up.
I ain't going to talk about sheep's head.
They're moving out. They are on their way out
Out of what?
of the creeks.
Oh, here we go again. Well,
They eat gold-
used
they
to
eat
be
gold- they eat gold shrimp.
used to be 500,000 of them showed up on the Steinhatchee Reef in December, and they didn't leave until April, and they had never seen a creek. They was
No, I'm just saying that. But
There's-
no, they are.
if Brent was here, he'd tell us he's catching some sheep's head.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
What happened to Brent? Something happened to the sheep's head, or something happened to
Yeah,
Brent?
Sheepshead are they're
They left.
They
they're
disappeared
left the
on.
building. They're heading offshore.
Okay.
No, actually, we put a camera down in a deep hole 3 days ago.
In the
That
river.
I can't. I don't know if it was if Austin got it off a TikTok shop because he buys everything on TikTok shop,
Mm.
or if Shannon got it off of Temu. It was one of those. They paid $30 for it. We dropped it down, and a giant sheephead swims right by the camera.
You said you seen a few other fish in there too.
We did. I'm not talking about what species.
We're talking about sheephead here.
Right.
The sheep's head normally, if somebody asks about it, I'll tell you that normally the moons in April is when the Steinhatchee group, Sea Hag, and those other groups start flashing pictures. And they're catching most of those fish offshore, either on the shrimp boat or on the reefs, the new reefs, I say new, the newest reefs that were built out there in the vicinity of the same thing. But the Steinhatchee Reef does not produce those thousands, even hundreds of fish like it did back in the 90s when I fished for them. They just wiped them out when they increased the numbers from 10 fish per to 15. Some guides were known to have a mate with them, take 4 people, that's 6 limits, and do it twice a day. And how many fish did they take in a week? Go back and do the math, you'll see where our sheep's head went.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to come back live April 3rd. We're going to try to do this the first Thursday of each month. Now that we're getting back into the swing of things. And,
It's time to fish.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm ready.
Y'all sharpen your hooks and crank your boats and get everything ready, because we're going to say, we told you so next time, because we're going to be you'll be a week late on the 3rd of April.
And when your boats won't crank, how do they get a hold of you, Greg?
They can get a hold of me at 727-919-8666, or you can go to econfinasportingclub.com.
Pat?
onemorecast.net, or go 850-838-7541. That's 850-838-7541. Text me. Best way to go, because if I'm on the water, I don't always hear the phone ring.
And you can find me on any social media platform, Real Epic Charters, realepicharters.com, 850-838-6101. And we appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will
Absolutely.
be back next month.